Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, Happy New Year to all of you. It's been really, really great to get some time off and time to regroup. And I probably did a little bit too much work over the holiday than I should have, but it also gave me a chance to go out in the community and attend some events where I met people that say, oh, I know about you and your show because I listened to your show. And, that just means a lot to me. New Year's Eve, I was able to meet several people that listened to the show. And it really warms my heart to see that there are people out there that care about what I care about. We're starting into a whole new year, and it is an interesting year to me. It is like the culmination of a lot of historical events have started the wheels in play in 2023. And in many of these cases, they're not wheels that I feel good about. And while I'm very optimistic about 2023 personally, I am very concerned for our community and our kids throughout the year, starting in the year 2023. So with that, let's get started. One of the real tragedies that's happened in the last 10 days or so was the individual that shot and killed a Riverside County Sheriff Deputy, Isaiah Cordero. Now, I work in support as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Sheriff Department. They operate the Human Trafficking Task Force. By the way, this show, for those of you that are new to us, this show is brought to you by millionkids.org, millionkids.org. And we serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Human Trafficking Task Force. So we know a lot of folks over at the Riverside County Sheriff Department, and we have the greatest respect for each and every one of them. I did not know myself Isaiah Cordero. I didn't. He looked like a great, great guy. And he was gunned down by an individual by the name of William Shea McKay. And I started to get the background on all this. And so many people have asked me, how could this possibly keep happening? Well, I hate to tell you this, but with the laws in place in the state of California, this is going to keep happening. It is how it is. Lawmakers propose these laws and they make them sound really, really good, and people vote for them without understanding what's happening. They also vote for judges without knowing that judge's record and their beliefs and how they rule. And this is a real tragedy. I think that if judges are going to run for re-election, they need to be able to provide the background of how they've ruled on major cases. I think that is really, really important. Well, William Shea McKay was also killed in the course of the action, but he was no stranger to crime. The real crime to me is the fact that this man was ever out there in the first place, in a place where he could kill Deputy Isaiah Cordero. It's just an absolute tragic incident. It's a situation that did not have to happen, but it has happened. So McKay had been convicted of false imprisonment, receiving stolen property, evading police officers in November of 2021. He was 44 years old. He was acquitted of kidnapping charges. He was facing a third strike sentence of 25 years to life in prison, but his attorneys had asked for a new trial and that one of his strikes be dismissed. His bail was reduced, and I'm going to go into how all of this works and what is going on, because I really want you, our audience, to be informed when you vote in the future, because this gets really tricky, how so many times we get lured into voting for something that sounds decent, only to find out that there are all kinds of clauses in there that would really change how you perceive the bill is really going to play out. And there's a lot of information that's not given out there. His bail, in this case, McKay's bail, was reduced from $950,000 to $500,000 while his case was pending, and he was released on bail, okay? Had he not been released on bail, he wouldn't be available for this kind of thing. In October, a warrant was issued for that arrest, for his arrest, when he failed to make the court appearance. So they reduced his bail, and he still did not show up. In this case, the trial judge is Kara D. Hudson. So both Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron and Riverside County Sheriff Department Sheriff Chad Bianco have made comments about this, saying that the justice system had really failed Deputy Cordero by allowing this man back out on the street. And we're going to talk about how that bail works. There's a real movement across California to do away with bail. And in fact, back in Chicago and Illinois, I was noticing I saw these articles where law enforcement is just feeling like there's absolutely no way you're ever going to be able to combat crime in their state, because one of the things, they want no bail. And they also want, if there is bail, I'm talking about their legislators, that if there is bail, that there's a 24-hour period before law enforcement can go after them if they don't show up. Now, this is just absolutely insane. It kind of reminds you of what's going on at the border, where you issue a statement, issue a citation, you set up a court date, and nobody shows up, and nothing is done about it. And this is one of those tragedies in this case. So they went after him. They prosecuted and convicted him in November of 2021. However, a failure in the process to separate McKay from society and hold him accountable has resulted in the tragic loss of a law enforcement deputy. This is San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson is making this statement in this case. They interviewed Cordero's uncle also, who's very, very frustrated about it, because basically this procedure allowed a criminal to roam the streets, not pay the price, and kill one of our fine deputies. And so it's really, really sad when you look at that individual's past. He had a career that stretched clear back in criminal activities to 1999, and he was accused of kidnapping a woman who was watching his house while he was in jail. According to the court documents, a woman told San Bernardino County Sheriff deputies that McKay would ask her to house sit and to feed his dogs while he's in prison or in jail in custody. The house was burglarized while she was gone, briefly, and he accused her of being involved. He punched her in the face, took her purse, took her keys, took her credit cards and her cell phones, and dragged her out to the garage. He tied her hands and feet up with duct tape in view of two people watching them and helping him. This is according to the court documents. The woman was finally taken to parts of the house where they made purchases on her credit cards. And, while she was held hostage, they did that to her. At times, duct tape was placed over the woman's mouth and she was punched. She was eventually broke free, and she ran to a neighbor's house where she called the police. The California Highway Patrol in 2021 pulled McKay over for driving a stolen vehicle. He led them on a 20-mile chase. He and a passenger abandoned the car when it broke down or became disabled, and he ran on foot, and he was armed with knives. They were arrested, and this gentleman stabbed a police dog, which had to be airlifted to the hospital. At the time of his arrest, McKay had 2 prior felony strikes, for conviction of assault with a firearm. He got 3 years in prison for that. he was stopped in a traffic stop and he tried to get away in a 100-mile-an-hour chase through Caltrans work zone, scattering Caltrans workers to get out of his path. When he got his car stopped, he jumped out with a gun in his hand. He failed to respond when they ordered him to drop the gun. At the time, he was driving with a suspended license and a no-bail burglary warrant, okay? This man is out amongst us, and he killed one of our fine sheriff deputies. This is Opal Singleton. We're up against a break. I'll be right back.
Are you tired of eating at the same old restaurants? Let me tell you about a fabulous Italian restaurant we found in Riverside, Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant. Their caprese salad is exquisite with candied balsamic glaze. All of their sauces are special recipes using only the best olive oils. The salads are fresh and healthy. They offer a wonderful array of pastas, including shrimp scampi, capellini, bolognese, and lasagna. They're famous for their gourmet pizza, and you can order online for takeout or have a special date for dining in with family and friends. Mamma Mia's caters special occasions and host private events. You have to try it out. Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant, located at 10971 Magnolia Avenue in Riverside, 1 block north of La Sierra on Magnolia. That's Mamma Mia's in Riverside. Be sure to tell Michael, Alex, or Joseph you heard it on AM 590 The Answer.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of MillionKids.org. I believe the 4 most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. So we created a challenge coin that says I believe in you on one side and stand tall, you are loved on the other side. This one-of-a-kind challenge coin is a perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, Christmas presents, or just an anytime gift for someone you love. What a powerful message for a parent or a grandparent to give to a young person. This 2-inch coin is made of polished gold. It's striking to look at, and it is priceless to hold. It is packaged in a beautiful black velvet gift box. What a great way to leave a legacy of love that will last forever. To purchase this coin, go to millionkids.org/gallery. Each coin is $25. Go to millionkids.org/gallery to purchase and give a legacy of love.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we were talking about just the tragic shooting of a Riverside County Sheriff Deputy Isaiah Cordero. He was shot by William Shea McKay, who was a career convicted criminal who should never been out walking the streets of or driving a car or allowed to be out in a situation where he can take another person's life. This show is brought to you by Million Kids, and our normal business is that we combat sex trafficking and we combat child sexual exploitation and online social media exploitation. But it is the first show of the year, and I want to talk about the impact of the laws on this, because we're going into 2023, and we have some laws that are about to take place that are going to change everything in California and not for the good. So many of you say, how could all of this be going on? Well, it is our legislators. I would tell you to be very careful who you vote for the next time around. And do your due diligence, and then please vote and share that due diligence with other people. This is very, very important. So as we begin to take a look at it, you're going to find out that I'm going to ultimately end up talking about SB 357, because that bill has come to life. It started in January of this year, And I want to talk about the impact of that and how that's going to change our whole society. But let me go back to this case because people say, what is going on here? And let me give you a little history. Those of you who follow us all the time, forgive me if you've heard this before. But for those of you that are new, I really want to lay this out. So this really started, this whole concept of getting out of prison early and changing the enhancements in filing sentences really started back in 2016, which is now more than 6 years ago, when a bill went on the ballot. Now, it's the only one that the public has been allowed to vote on, but it went on the ballot and was called Proposition 57. It was one of those feel-good kinds of ballots, okay? It basically said that if you have committed a nonviolent crime, that you can get considered for early parole. Well, everybody feels like everybody ought to be given a break. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you've paid your price and you've kept yourself clean, it was one of those feel-good kind of bills. But there was some real interesting stuff hidden in that bill that we're still feeling the effects of today. By the way, when that bill went through, in office was Governor Jerry Brown and also Attorney General for the state of California, Kamala Harris. And there were in that bill some wording. For instance, there was some wording that was not in the bill about sex offenders. What this bill indicated is if you have committed a nonviolent crime, they are creating a program in the prisons. This all started because we had, thousands and thousands of people overcrowded in our prisons. So rather than to build new prisons, we're going to let a bunch of people out, those nonviolent people who probably are okay. They just had a little blip in their life and they're all right. Well, that sounds good, except there are only 13 violent crimes in the state of California, and child sex crimes are not one of them. As people began to ask, what about sex offenders? Are they going to get out early? Nobody knew. It didn't say one way or the other. Governor Brown kind of glibly said, well, I don't think so, but it wasn't written in there one way or the other. And so what happened is a sex offender said, look, everybody's getting out of prison early but me. I am being discriminated against. He filed a lawsuit for the state of California. Judge Alan Sumner agreed with him and said, absolutely, you're being discriminated against. It went all the way up to the California Supreme Court, and Justice Sakawa agreed with everybody else. In fact, she chewed out the California voter and said, if they had wanted to make it so sex offenders would be excluded, they wouldn't have voted for the bill. Well, it wasn't clear, but now we know there was also a clause in there that few people understand. The end result of that bill was that about 76,000 people are being considered for early parole, including 20,000 sex offenders. That does not mean they'll all get out, but they will be considered. And the way it works, and the tricky part of this bill is there was some wording that nobody noticed, that this will be based on your primary sentence, not on your sentence in total. In other words, let's suppose that you've raped a woman and you get 10 years in prison, not 10,000 years. I'm really on a roll, aren't I? Anyway, 10 years in prison for that rape, right? And let's say you're a gang member, so that's maybe another 5 years. And let's say that you had a previous conviction, that'd be another 5 years. And then let's say that you're carrying a gun, that'd be another 10 years, and you get 30 years in prison. Well, SB 357 created a credit program in the jails, in the prisons, that say if you do good, you get so many credits to consider that you get out early. So let's say there's a fire and you go out and you work on the fire line. Well, that's a great idea. If you're rehabilitating, if you're learning a trade, if you're helping save lives, you can be acknowledged for that. So that's worth something. Then you attend classes and that gives you something. But what few people understand is, one, it included allowing sex offenders out early, and two is that it was based on the original crime, not on any enhancements. So if you're looking at 30 years, they're really looking at the primary crime, which is 10 years. And if you serve 4 or 5 of that years and you've done your classes and like that, voila, you are out. And it is this concept of enhanced sentencing that people are not picking up on when they're voting for these bills. And quite frankly, they're pretty deeply buried in the wording, so people don't pick up what is happening. I have to confess that it took me a while to understand what was going on. Well, this continues on as you got District Attorney Gascon over in L.A. He, the first day he took office, announced there will be no more enhanced sentencing, period. And by the way, if you've already been charged, he instructed his prosecutors not to even consider that and not even attend parole hearings to enforce that they stay in the prison, their confinement. Now, there has been lawsuits back and forth, and it'll be interesting to see how this happens. But this is also they look at the base sentence for this thing of reducing the bail, not the sentence in total, but the base sentence, the primary sentence when they're looking at this reduction in bail. And so this is how we end up with a lot of people getting out early. And some of them are very fine people who have made a mistake and are turning their lives around. But many of them are people right here, just like this man, McKay, who is a lifetime criminal, and he's out on the streets, and now he has killed a very fine young man that was dedicated to keeping our kids safe, keeping the community safe, keeping the streets safe. And this is an absolute tragedy. And for my part, as Million Kids, even though it isn't child sex crimes we're talking about, what I want you as the listener to understand is the nuances that are proposed in all of these bills. So that takes us to SB 357, which started January 1st. And that bill is called, of all things, the California Safer Streets Act. That bill, in essence, legalizes street prostitution starting in January 2023, and almost nobody knows about it. I'm amazed the number of people when I say that. I was looking up an article this morning about 10 new California laws that go into effect in 2023 that will change our community, and SB 357 didn't even make the list. It is amazing how that bill has been kept quiet and very few people know about it, but it is the law, and you are about to see a major change in our society right here in California. That bill says that law enforcement cannot intervene if you are loitering to solicit for street prostitution. It doesn't say if you're soliciting to buy or sell. My name is Opal Singleton. We are coming up against that break, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show, and I'm also the president of an organization called Million Kids. We are a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization. We're pretty small compared to a lot of the big organizations, but we're mighty. We've been doing this now for 15 years, 12 in Southern California. I just want to take a minute to thank each and every one of you that sent in a donation at the end of 2022. It means a whole lot to us. We are a fairly small organization, but we have trained more than 500,000 people. We train law enforcement. We train first responders. We train code enforcement. We train teachers and educators and counselors and therapists and civic groups, and we've trained a lot of people, but we also handle real cases. And we support the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, which, by the way, we also support San Bernardino, although we don't interact with them nearly as much because we are here in Riverside County. But we are so fortunate in the Inland Empire to have some of the finest people out there in our area protecting our kids and trying to keep our community safe. And I'm very, very proud of both the sheriff departments in both Riverside and San Bernardino County and the district attorneys. When you see some of this other stuff that's going on, like what I'm about to share with you, I want you to know that it's really a solace to know that the people in our community, our district attorneys, are committed to prosecuting these criminals and getting them off the street and protecting the victim, and we need that. But it is about to get very, very difficult. So let me give you the background, because I am amazed at the number of people that don't know this is about to happen. It's kind of frustrating because I've spent the last 2 years writing press releases and editorials and like that. Before I give you my opinion, I do want to recommend that you can go to YouTube and look at an interview that was done before this bill passed. I did this because I totally respect the interview, the two people in the interview. This is an interview done by a previous host of AM 590. He was a friend of mine. His name was Don Dix, and Don has since passed away. But he is, immortalized, let's say the right word there, immortalized by YouTube, and an interview that he did with a retired LA, I think she was a deputy or a detective over there. Her name was Stephanie Powell. And Stephanie is, as they say, a woman of color. She's a beautiful lady. She runs a great nonprofit over in LA. She fights like crazy, but she knows what it's like to be a patrol person on the streets of LA. And Dawn was interviewing Stephanie about this. And it's a fascinating interview. You can go to YouTube, and the headline on it is Don Dix and Stephanie Powell on why SB 357 endangers women. Now, I'm going to take it a bit farther. I highly respect Stephanie, by the way. But it not only endangers women, it endangers our kids, and it is going to deteriorate our community. So you say, how does all this work? Well, this bill, when you look at it, what it says is that law enforcement will not be able to intervene if you're loitering to solicit for street prostitution. So you say, why on earth would anybody do that bill? Well, Senator Scott Weiner promoted that bill, was part of writing it, and he got it through the House first, and then he got it through the Assembly. This bill actually passed in October of 2021. For whatever reason, it was not sent to Governor Newsom for signature for 9 more months after it was passed both the House and the Assembly. And then after the Newsom recall election and after the preliminary election, in fact, 3 days after, it was signed into law without a lot of fanfare. The irritating part of this is it's called the California Safer Streets Act. And nothing could be further from the truth. That is a total misclassification, if you will. Now, it does not say if you're loitering to buy or sell, but what it does say is law enforcement cannot intervene. So you say, why would this happen? Well, I don't disagree with the concept, and neither would Stephanie Powell, who is, an African-American lady. And it's just a dynamo of a person and somebody I greatly admire. But what happens is they're saying, well, there are more people of color, women of color, and transgender that are arrested for prostitution than there are Caucasians. I actually don't disagree with that. Proportionally in our society, there's also more of them than Caucasians. But what you do see on there is they're saying, well, that makes it difficult for a woman to get a job in the future if she's been arrested. I don't disagree with that at all. So certainly, if you want to tackle that problem, we can. But this bill is written to protect the women from law enforcement intervening. I'm saying who is going to protect those women from the pimps and from the gangs and from the cartels and from some madam or some agent that wants to beat them up and put them out in our society? Who is going to protect the other people that are going to get caught up in this that right now are probably not into it? So what it's saying is that first of all, law enforcement can't intervene. That's the first thing that it says. So as we do this, I start to look at it and I say, wait a minute, we have between 45 and 50,000 homeless people in the LA area that are desperate for money. It is not going to be too difficult to talk to one of those people and say, you need to make $20. This is what you do. And law enforcement can't intervene. Now, this law is headed towards adults 18 and over. I believe, and Stephanie Powell says in her interview, which is why I would like you to hear it if you can, is that I believe that it's going to lead to the next step of decriminalizing prostitution completely within the state of California. So why would you do that? Well, the ACLU is behind this bill, as well as the Sex Workers of America. It is a huge union in the porn industry. So you have this discussion that if you're an adult and you want to do that, you should be allowed to do whatever you want to do with your body. I don't disagree with that if you're an adult and you're doing it willingly, understanding the risks of what you're doing. But what happens is that a person starts into this business and then somebody wants to be their agent. They want to be their social media marketer. And pretty soon they're splitting their funds. And pretty soon they're starting to be given quotas. What's even more worrisome for me on this is since law enforcement can't intervene, they won't be able to tell which ones are 16, 17 and which ones are 18 or 19. And so, therefore, our kids are going to be caught up in it. And law enforcement will not be able to go out and interview them and say, honey, are you being pressured into this? Are you being forced into it? Are you having to give the money you make to somebody else? Does someone give you a quota? Do you have to make so much money or you can't eat tonight? Or do you have to make so much money and you can't quit and go home and sleep? All of those are things that take it from independent prostitution to human trafficking. It is called force, fraud, fear, and coercion. So force, you're not free to go. They will put you in a motel and advertise you, and people show up. Coercion, they threaten your family, especially if you're not documented. They threaten your family. And, they threaten that you're not going to get to eat. They hold you against your will. They bodily harm you. They will choke you and punch you. And the life of commercial prostitution, especially on the street, is one miserable life because you are constantly in danger of somebody not paying, which means you've just gotten raped, or somebody beating you up or forcing you to do things that maybe you don't want to do, or maybe holding you and not allowing you to go home, or physically harming you. We see it. I've been in this business for 12 years now, and that life is absolutely terrifying. It's a one of those roads that you start down when you're young and you're naive and you think that, okay, I'm just going to make a little bit of money and get out. And then suddenly it doesn't work that way. Well, it's all about to change because we won't be able to determine if you're a victim of trafficking or not because law enforcement will not be able to intervene. That doesn't mean law enforcement is going to turn the other way. If they can find a way to see abuse, they're going to go for it. But this law will change our society. This is Opal Singleton. It's break time. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it, and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello, and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we're talking about the impact of SB 357, the new law that started this week in California. Here's what I'm going to predict, and I'm more than happy to be wrong. I value your opinion. If any of you want to share your opinion with me, you can contact me at opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. I will also be happy to educate in the right situation where I can educate a lot of you and want to educate as many people as possible. So the best way to share this information, this will all be at millionkids.org. By the way, I'll also run a private training program, a couple of them. One, you can go to millionkids.org and sign up for Million Kids Insider Alerts. If you're a Facebook person, go to Facebook and look up Million Kids Supporters. And that's a private group where I analyze cases, and it'll be a way for you to stay current. But here's what I'm going to predict. It not only is going to affect homeless people who are out there anyway, we're already seeing it where gangs and pimps are literally taking back the streets. And, we've spent the last 10 years cleaning up our communities and stopping all of this. We're about to return. We're already seeing it. San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Fresno, a variety of areas where gangs and pimps are bringing in girls from all over the United States to make money in California because they can. Guess what? The girls earning the money don't usually end up with our money. One of the biggest things that scares me is all these undocumented people that have entered our community that owe money to other people that got them here, whether it's a gang, whether it's a cartel, or whether it's an individual. But these people need to make money, and they don't have jobs. They arrived undocumented, and many of them will be forced into this kind of thing to pay back their debt. We have already seen a case like that out of Colton, California. It was called the Paredes family. And these foreign national rings are ran by women. And there were women in Mexico that were sending over 14-year-old girls to work in the family business. Well, the family business was brothels, and they ran from Ventura all the way over here to the Inland Empire and out to Palm Springs. And they were 14-year-old girls that are being put off for commercial sex in order to pay back the debt to the coyotes. We're already seeing it in our community. They're seeing it, by the way, the same law passed in New York, and it's a nightmare, absolute nightmare. They just had another situation like that, a big cartel ring where young girls were being brought in. They thought they were going to get jobs as waitresses and servers. And they used an avatar to recruit, by the way. I really want to put that out there, that if you see an avatar in a job ad or a sex ad, there's a reason they're not showing their face. By the way, if you're using a dating site and they have an avatar, run for your life, because they're hiding something. But these undocumented people are going to be at great risk. The other thing that they're already starting to see, mostly up in the Bay Area, is several of your cartels that are coming in from Southeast Asia. They're bringing girls in from Cambodia, from Thailand, from Taiwan, from China, from Vietnam, and putting them out in massage parlors and residential brothels for money. That this is the most brutal kind of human trafficking, because the girls that earn the money don't get the money. It goes back to China or Thailand to the cartel. They had a huge operation like that out of LA, where it was controlled out of Bangkok, and it was literally making millions and millions of dollars. We had the same kind of thing over here in Chino Hills. The Sophia Navas has been convicted now, but she had over 20,000 sex ads going at any given time. She was absolutely brutal. She and her daughter ran this, and she lived in Chino Hills, and her daughter lived in Irvine, and they're running residential brothels. So I'm going to ask you as listeners, here's what to watch for. Watch out for changes in your residence. One of the first things I'm going to tell you is join your neighborhood watch. If you have an empty house in your neighborhood, pay attention to it. If it starts getting a lot of volume, or somebody coming in there and there's a lot of men coming and going at odd hours, report that to the Riverside County Sheriff Department so it can be investigated, okay? Or San Bernardino County Sheriff Department. and say it looks like it might be a residential brothel. If you have homes, so many of these undocumented people are held in what they call a stash house, or I can't think of the other word of it now, but they're usually near a freeway. They will have a closed off area. Okay. The front doors, the windows have locks on the outside. They have attached garages. They often have somebody sitting out front smoking. He's the watch person. They may have a guard dog. They have vans that come in late at night and early morning to transport. These are places that are holding people that you can't tell, that can't get free. And in many cases, they're being violated. The same kind of thing if you see a home that has something that looks like it might be an illegal pot grow. There is now a connection between human trafficking of foreign national individuals and people who rent houses and put them in there for illegal pot grows. And they will use people from China, from Laos, from Vietnam, a lot of times, or from Guatemala. And they will be the people that are running these illegal pot grows, and they themselves are being violated. They will often set up sex trafficking of the girls to earn the money to run the illegal pot grows. So all of these things I'm going to ask you to look at. If you have time, look up SB 357 and understand what's going on, or Google it, okay? You'll probably see a lot of stuff from me, but there's a lot of other people that fought this tooth and nail. But the bill is passed. Governor Newsom has signed it. Senator Weiner is proud of what he has done. But I'm going to tell you that those two individuals single-handedly will change your community, because you are going to see more loitering for the purposes of soliciting for prostitution than you have ever seen in your lifetime. It will be in front of your businesses. There are no limitations on this bill, by the way. It'll be in front of your business, in front of your home, in front of your school, in front of your church. This bill will change our entire society. And yet it is called the California Safer Streets Act. Hard to believe, in my opinion. But it is in effect, and I'm going to ask you to get yourself trained. I thank you for listening. Please follow Me and Kids at meandkids.org. Get yourself involved in this. Spread the word. Research it yourself. You can email me if you want to at opal@meandkids. But I also want you to know that it's going to take funding to fight this. It is going to take money. I don't have any other way to say this. We have got to get this word out there, because it's kind of like an evolution that's quietly taking place. Only just in the last month have we started to see increases on the streets of the number of women in scantily clad clothes. And we don't care what their nationality or ethnicity is. What we care about is these are women and children, and these are transgender people. These are gay people. These are women of all colors. Nobody should ever be sexually exploited for the purposes of money or power or control. And the way that we protect our communities and our families is we get back to basics with our kids, talking about taking the high road. If you take the low road, your life is going to change and you are going to pay the price. Keeping an eye out for our neighbors and our neighborhoods, watching the area around you and seeing if there is illicit activity. There is nothing in the law that says that law enforcement cannot go in and close down a brothel or close down a stash house and rescue the people who are being exploited. And that is happening in our neighborhood. So I'm going to ask you to educate yourself, educate your friends and your relatives, and get involved. My name is Opal Singleton. This is Million Kids. If you want to support our work financially, we'd very much appreciate it. Go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button, or get the P.O. box and send us a check. We appreciate each and every one of you. Well, Happy New Year to everybody. We're just getting started in 2023. Put your arms around your family and let them know how proud you are of them. We're going to take this on, so I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.